Before we start, I'm apparently supposed to tell you guys two things. First, apparently like 99.9 of you aren't even subscribed to my channel, based on this statistic, and you should subscribe. Also, I made this shirt and now you can go buy it at the thing or down there. Alright, now you can go watch the review.
For those of you who might be new or have no idea what this video is about, the Quest 2 is Oculus's new headset, or I guess not so new anymore. It's been out for like 2 months. It is the next generation of the original Quest. It has a couple hardware upgrades as well as some design changes, which might be considered downgrades, but overall it's a new headset, you know? I'll be giving my thoughts on it because this is a review, and that's what I'm supposed to do. Let's get into some specs. Unlike the Quest 1, which had dual OLED displays, the Quest 2 has a singular LCD panel. It comes out to around 1832 by 1920 per eye, which is kind of a weird resolution, but it's definitely a bump from the 1440 by 1600 on the Quest 1. Quest 1 had identical resolution to the Index, but with obviously OLED versus LCD. Comes with the new Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2, which I have no clue what it means, but it's supposedly better, which is all that really matters. 6 gigs of RAM, up from 4 gigs of RAM from the Quest 1, and it comes in 64 gigabytes or 256, starting at $299 and $399 respectively. It comes with built-in speakers that are basically more pointed at your temples. They're kind of like here. It provides a bit like clearer and louder sound, but overall the sound is still just as bad as the Quest 1. Maybe a slight improvement. You'll be able to use it if you really want to, but you're gonna want headphones for sure. It has a solo headphone jack instead of dual headphone jacks. I mean, the Quest 2 doesn't need dual headphone jacks, and honestly the Quest 1 didn't really need the either. The USB port is now horizontal, making it better for link, and if you have a wall mount, it kind of makes it nice for charging because it'll point straight down instead of sticking out. Same 4-camera tracking. The cameras are actually look physically smaller. I don't know if that changes anything. I mean, obviously the tracking is pretty much the same quality. The layout's kind of different, but other than that, nothing much to note there. The weight is a bit lighter, so it's nicer on the face with 503 grams versus the Quest 1 being at 571 grams. This takes some of the pressure off of your face, but the head strap is a bit of a downgrade. The best way I can put it is like a worse Vive strap. It doesn't come down all the way on the back of your head, and overall just kind of doesn't feel great. It's not super easy to adjust or anything. The plastic head strap on the Quest 1, although a lot of people didn't like the weight distribution or the balance of it, was still better. Now I know that there's the Elite strap, which if you look over at Reddit has been snapping and breaking and cracking like crazy, which costs $50, and I believe has now been taken off of the Oculus store. Hopefully they'll find a fix for it. And then there's also Franken Quest 2, which is basically anyone who wants the 3D print adapters, or you can buy them on eBay like I did, to put a Vive Deluxe audio strap on the headset. Overall, the head strap is usable, but it's not good. You'll get used to it, but it's not good. The facial insert is the like foamy material that is similar to, what is it? Like the original Rift or Vive actually, where it was kind of like not the best quality, soaks up sweat really well. It's not necessarily uncomfortable, but it will degrade over time. It's definitely not as nice quality as the almost fabric ones on the Quest 1. But of course you can still go with VR cover. VR cover has a whole bunch of options. I don't know if they have the new facial insert, like the full-on plastic one that you can buy right now with the removable Velcro leather plush PU things, but they do have silicone covers available right now, which will take out the nose gap and you can easily take them on and off. They're not too expensive. You can get them down at the link below, or I think I can put one up there because I have a referral link now, so you can, yeah. Oh. Now, the funniest thing I think with the Quest 2 is, yes, they bumped up the graphic potential with the new processor, and yes, they have higher resolution screens than the Index, but the processor is still not good enough to run those games at that almost, 2K per eye resolution? If you go into games like Population 1, you notice the anti-aliasing and the lack of super sampling, I guess. It's just like, you're seeing the pixels still, but not from the screen. It's more that the graphics aren't good enough to keep up with the hardware that they put into it. Now, in things like watching movies, maybe in big screen, or the home environment, or browsing, you definitely notice that the screen resolution helps a ton and everything is super clear. But you can't expect the same graphics or resolution in higher end or more demanding games. The screen also isn't the brightest or most vibrant, I guess. I'm used to, again, running the Index at a higher brightness, so I'm used to those brighter displays glaring into my eyes. And going back to the Quest 2, coming off of the Index, feels a bit darker and almost harder to see at times. But overall, if you're used to it, you'll probably be used to it. The blacks, of course, aren't as good as they would be on OLED because it's an LCD display, but coming from someone who's been using the Index at 130% brightness and the Rift S, I'm used to it at this point and it doesn't bother me. Now, coming from an OLED display, you might be annoyed that, looking off into the distance in a dark room, you still see those grayish blacks or just light being present in general, but I'm used to it. It's okay. I've accepted the fact that blacks are not true blacks. And it would be great if they were, but it's not. It's an LCD display. The God rays are pretty minimal. In fact, instead of them being kind of sharp and like ray-like, they're more like foggy and glowy. They're like a bloom effect, if anything. We're looking right now in my Index at a bright white notepad against a dark background where it's glaring into the lenses. It's a lot less of that and more just like a haze around objects, which is not too bad and not super noticeable in my opinion. They're still there, but they're not all that bad. Now, one of the main things about the headset that has changed is the IPD adjustment. There are now 3 IPD settings, 58, 63, and 68. You might think that's pretty bad, and it is. If you have any IPD that is bigger and needs to use that wider IPD range, I have bad news. It basically does a digital adjustment as well as the physical adjustment of the lenses and crops in around your nose with a slight dead FOV crop. So you'll basically be forced into the 63 range anyway, so there's no point in really adjusting them. If you have a narrower IPD, I think you should be fine, but for the most part, it's extremely unfriendly to any IPD adjustment, and you're basically going to be stuck with the 63mm sweet spot, and that's it. That's it. And my IPD is 62, so I really don't care. It's just, sucks for you. So for the controllers, they're bigger, they're a bit heavier, but they feel nicer in the hand. Their ergonomics are improved enough to where games like Audica or most shooters where I would normally get hand fatigue on controllers like the Index, I noticed that I really didn't. They were just comfy in general. The triggers feel a little bit weird to me because they're so big and kind of rounded. They're a bit to get used to, but obviously we aren't playing on Vive wands anymore with dedicated gun triggers, and they work just fine. The biggest upgrade, in my opinion, is they brought back the straps from the CV1, or at least similar ones. They're the higher quality braided rope type straps instead of the cheap, almost fake leather ones that snap off on the Gen 2 touch controllers. In other words, the straps are nice, they stay in place, they don't slip down, they're great. They're wonderful if you use straps, which I don't. I like to flip my controllers and throw them on the ground and watch them explode into pieces. The battery drain, which I felt was an issue for the Quest 1, or the new touch controllers, or rather now we have to call them Gen 2 touch controllers, was kind of annoying. I would always come back to my controllers at either 50% or less no matter what I left them at, whether it was a new pair of batteries or an old one. The battery drain on these seem to be really good. I've been running the same pair of rechargeable batteries since I got it, and they're still going strong. Speaking of batteries, the battery compartment has been fixed and heavily upgraded with a metal rod that goes into the negative end that is very stiff. The compartment around the battery is a lot tighter, and the top in the positive is a little like cup that scoops around the positive nub and really locks the battery in place. I can still lose tracking if I want to by swinging my arm hard enough and getting the battery to disconnect, but you have to swing your arm very hard in order to get it to disconnect. And what else happens is it regains tracking much faster than the previous generation did. So even if you for some reason are swinging like a monkey and get it to disconnect, you probably won't suffer too much tracking loss. But of course, if you're not playing Beatsaber and just punching hard and super hot, I don't think you won't have any problems. My final consensus on the Quest 2 is yes, it's a good headset. For the price point, you're not going to find anything else in this range. You're never going to find another standalone VR headset that is this good because Oculus has the market for it. So I guess my personal advice is if you're getting into VR to have fun, play around, and not necessarily become a hardcore VR enthusiast, the Quest is great. It's not the ultimate headset, but it's good. Like, subscribe, share, comment, the notification bell.